Alright y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Zach Cuellar. Today we'll be going over what is buyer representation and how to prepare to buy a home. Alright, so first things first, what is buyer representation? As an agent, buyer representation to us is a fiduciary duty. It is something that instills confidence and trust and reliance, and is a relationship to where we put your best interests in front of ours. That is our main priority, is your best interest as the client. We can only operate in this manner to clients if you are only a customer and there is no agreement between us. Then your best interests will not be in our mind. As soon as you sign a buyer's representation agreement, that means at that exact moment, your best interest is in our hands. So there are a couple things that can benefit you as a buyer when entering into a buyer's representation agreement with an agent. So the first thing is a buyer's representation agreement protects you from asymmetric information. So of course, as a buyer, you can go out and purchase a home on your own. You can download all the contracts, you can do all these things. All these things are public information. That means there's not really any exclusivity between what we have as documents and what you can get just as a typical buyer. However, protecting you from asymmetric information is important to us as agents, because in real estate, there are parties who are more informed than the others. And if you don't have an agent who's on your team or fighting for your best interest, then it might get a little hectic, because agents are supposed to help you and they're there to make sure that a lot of people don't fall subject to not having enough information or not knowing what they need to know. Another thing that buyer representation protects you from is confidential information being disclosed to the seller or the listing agent. So entering into an agreement with a buyer's agent will protect necessary confidential information that you don't want disclosed to the other parties. That is something that if you operate in an intermediary where you have a sub-agent representing you, that is something that could be a conflict of interest, to where you may not want to have disclose certain information, but because the agents work together for the same brokerage and the broker is an intermediary, there can be some mishaps where unnecessary information is disclosed. And you can tell me what you want to keep confidential, and you can also choose what you want the other parties to know. That is completely up to you, and it is my duty to protect your confidential information. So those are two reasons why buyer's representation protects you as the buyer. So now we'll get into how does a buyer or an agent prepare to help either a client or get the client ready to purchase a home. So how can we prepare as a team together? The buyer and the agent can fill out a buyer questionnaire. Most agents have these. I have one on my website where I'll link down below. You can go and schedule an appointment, and it'll ask you certain questions kind of about your basic wants and needs, what your likes and dislikes are, and it'll kind of help us prepare and gather the necessary resources we need to make sure that your best interest is in mind. And we don't want to operate on any foundation to where accurate information was not disclosed. Those questionnaires are to help benefit you, so we know what you want. And when you fill those out correctly and honestly, and you take time to fill those out, your agent's going to value that information, and it's only going to make the representation process go a lot more smoother. So another thing most agents will do, and buyers, I recommend you doing this as well, is conducting your own property searches, or CMAs, as we like to call them as agents, your comparative market analysis. So find properties that have just sold in the past, typically between 6 months to a year. Find those properties that are similar. If you're looking for a 3x2 or a 4x2, go find those properties that are in the area and look for them. See what they're ranging for or pricing for, what the difference between their asking and their sold price was, find out how long they've stayed on the market, look at their price per square footage. Those are all things that are necessary when conducting a proper CMA. How is your subject house that you're looking for going to compare to the other houses that have previously sold on the market in terms of valuation? So those houses that have already been sold have a determined market value. It's up to you to kind of figure out, okay, what can I afford? How can I get there? And what will I be looking for? It is also up to the agent to conduct those analysis as well. That way the agent can inform you on what you're looking for and what kind of where the market is for the specific type of house that you may be looking for. Another thing, you can look at the area in general, see if it's trending upwards or downwards. Typically you want to look for an area with high growth, maybe with industry expansion. Those are all things that lead to passive appreciation, which is great for the equity in your house. So when you look for properties in a certain price range or something that matches your criteria, you'll be able to figure out and analyze different stats about what kind of makes those properties unique, or what makes them sell more, what makes them sell less. Now this next part is for buyers specifically, because as agents we cannot really help you with this. And what I mean is, I'm talking about pre-approval. When you go to a lender and you ask them, okay, we want to get pre-approved for a loan, we want to pre-qualify, what do we need to do? As agents, as real estate agents, we cannot tell you how to prepare it. We can tell you that you need to go and not just talk to one lender, but talk to multiple. Shop around, use the free market. That's what we can advise. We can also tell you that you're not viewed as a person, you're viewed as an investment by the bank. So the safer the investment you are, the more willing a bank or lender will want to give you a loan for a house. You want to be a worthwhile investment in the eyes of the bank. How can you prepare, or how do you know where you stand in terms of being a good investment or being a risky investment? The first thing is credit score. Credit score. Know what your credit score is, know why it's at score, and know how it can improve, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you can always improve your credit score. There's many ways to do this. A lot of it comes down to managing your debt to income, which I'll get into a little. Make sure you're paying your bills on time. All these things affect your credit score. Another thing that a lender is going to look at is your gross income, whether monthly or annual, and they're going to ask you how much of your gross income can be dedicated to housing. Typically it's about 25%, usually a quarter, around there. Some are more, some are less. It all just depends on the lender and how they view the risk assessment towards you. But typically it's around a quarter of your gross income should be dedicated to housing. So if you rent something and it's more expensive than you were to buy, then typically you probably have enough. But there are also things that come with maintenance and things like that that you need to take into mind, because lenders are just going to make sure you have enough gross income to pay their principals and their insurance and your mortgage payments. They want to make sure that they're getting paid. They do not care if you have enough money saved up for maintenance or estimated repairs in the future, just things like that. That's not what they're there for. So as I touched on earlier, we talked about debt to income. A lot of people take on debt these days, and there's good debt and there's bad debt. Good debt is when we use to leverage our positions in certain investment opportunities, which isn't really what we're talking about here. And so when I talk about bad debt, I just talk about liabilities, things that buy now, pay later kind of things. So these would be student loans, car payments, any type of liability that comes into that has your name on it and you are obligated to pay every month or so for a certain amount of time frame. That's debt. And your debt to income ratio is the amount of debt you have over the amount of income you make. So many banks will look for anywhere between 36 to 45% debt to income ratio. That's not set in stone. It can go up or down, but that's kind of your general area of where lenders will want to look for your debt to income ratio to be. Obviously, if you have a lower debt to income ratio, you may qualify for a lower rate. Same thing with your credit score. If you have a higher credit score, you can qualify for a better rate compared to if you had a lower credit score or a higher debt to income ratio. You might not be able to qualify for very low of a rate. And so maybe you should think about rearranging your finances, getting into a better financial position so that you're better off in the long run. You want to eliminate as much stress as you can at the beginning. That way you're not living paycheck to paycheck because you wanted a home so bad and now you're qualified for a loan that you can barely afford. It's not a great situation to be in. You don't want to be underwater in your loans either. So just know what you can afford. Getting pre-approved is a great step in knowing what you can afford, and when you know what you can afford, you know what you can buy, and it makes the agent's job a lot easier when they can go look for properties for you. It makes your job a lot easier because now you know where the market is, and now you know the type of houses and the quality of houses you can afford as well. There's another thing with pre-approval, which I forgot to mention, is your down payment. And if you want to qualify for a conventional loan, you either have to put 20% or more down, meaning all cash. 20% of the purchase price needs to go up front. You need to have that ready to go. If you don't, then there needs to be some sort of down payment assistance to help you kind of qualify. There are different loans for each down payment assistance program. Some are FHA, some are VA, and those you have to qualify for. There are down payment assistance programs that the US does on a federal level, and those are things that the government backs to help make the banks feel safer about their investments. So if in case of a buyer default, the banks will be protected through government-backed loans. If you do qualify for these down payment assistance programs, you need to be aware that you will be paying either PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, or MIP, which is your mortgage insurance premium. PMI, private mortgage insurance, is for conventional loans, and your MIP, your mortgage insurance premium, is going to be for your government-backed loans if you do not have enough money for a down payment. Like I said, it's important to know what you can afford. I think that about wraps everything up here. Guys, thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. If you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe, and I'm on a mission to make the best content out on the internet. So hope you enjoy what we're doing. Check out my website. I'll have the links down below, and that way you can get in contact with me if you have any questions. Leave a comment for anything, what you like, dislike, how I can improve. I'm doing my best, guys. This is one of my first videos, but thanks for sticking around, and I hope to see you in the future. Have a good day.